Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. I'm your host, Stephen Topham at the third at your service. We're going to be talking about my podcast this morning or this afternoon, this evening, depending when you listen to this, of course, and you paid attention to this and you understand what has unfolded and you're understanding that a lot of people feel that at this moment in time, they feel like, what the hell is going on around here? What's this? What's that? I said there's something about what you're about to get, right? Let me ask you this, right? I know a lot of you at the Norfolk area feel guilty. So you're taking the guilt. Why? You know you're guilty, but it wasn't your fault. Number one, you were lied to, you've been deceived by the 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 setup issue. So you had the setup, then under the carpet, then you had this problem over your head for over 6 years. You need to take that and realize the management has lied to you, they're going to be deceitful to you, and they're going to end up saying, oh, he's a guilty one, blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't want you to feel guilty up there. I want you to feel comfortable up there. I want you to feel happy up there, helpful, caring, and supportive in every way you can, right? The first things first, we already know who the suspect is. Because if you go listen to the setup, it will tell you how I got set up. Right? You need to wake up and smell that damn coffee. It's not a common. When you're taking the guilt of a lie, right? You're not just taking orders from the management and they say, oh, do this, do that, do that, do that. Don't let him on, don't let him on this, don't let him that. Right? My mother stated this morning, right? You see, if things unfolded in the right way, there's a lot of things that unfold for certain reasons, different directions. But like I said, going through every timeline that's in that book, right, it's all right to go through, right? It's just that Daisy's timeline is off limits, right? But she is the main cause of the problem, right? A lot of you that got booted out, sworn, cursed at, you name it, and abused somewhere else down the line, we already know who the prime suspects are. We just can't, I can't intervene because it wasn't my fault and it wasn't my problem, right? So you're taking the guilt, a lie, and a deceit. You can't do that. Especially when you understand what's unfolding in front of you, you really think nearly most of the volunteers and employees at the time know that I'm innocent. It's just that the people, to a lot of people, don't realise I am safeguarded for obvious reasons. But there are reasons why this is a true event, not just a child's play toy. Now you need to wake up and smell that damn coffee and realise taking the guilt on right, it's like saying to you lot, why didn't we, you're asking yourself a question, aren't you? A basic question that unfolds the problem and unfolds it in your head and makes you realise if you were looking at that letter yourself, you know it's a lie, but then you want to know how it got set up, and I just put the setup in for you, right? There's always three people involved, and it's not me, it's not my mother, and it's not Duck. You can't blame us all, right? We weren't always on the platform. Take it or leave it, right? You're taking the guilt, right? Because you were a lot of people that were working for you, helping you, supporting you, aiding you, and everything else. Then you're asking yourself, why, right? My mother stated this morning, she really put it in black and white. She said, we know it's not your fault. We know that you didn't do these things. We know that you didn't do that, and that, but I'm trying to get it through your heads because a lot of you are taking orders from the management that tells you not to let me on that platform, right? By doing that, you're taking the guilt of saying, look, you're guilty because you're not allowing me on the platform, right? You are screwing up something that should unfold correctly here. Think about it. What do I know that you don't know? You see, the thing is, I know a lot of you are innocent up there. I get it. I get it. You've been caught in something that's been unfolded. You are taking that guilt because you don't know where to go. There's a lot of truth, it's a lot of logic, and a lot of respect. But at the same time, you're taking this guilt, but it's not your fault. It's not your problem. It's not my problem. It's not my mother's problem. It's not Duck's problem. It's what what you're establishing yourself to do. You're taking that guilt for someone else, and it's not right in any aspect. Right? You're taking on somebody else's problem when it wasn't your problem. It's not my problem. It's not my mother's problem. It's not Duck's problem. And it's not yours. Right? We know who the suspect is. We're just waiting for her to wean herself out or establish there's two suspects. Right? Let me put this in perspective. A lot of you know a lot of things in reality that goes way beyond your comprehension, and only I could solve the matter, right? When people think they know it all, ask yourself a very big question. If he didn't do it, who did? Right? That's the first thing that comes out of your head, right? Or her head or whatever. Right? And then you're starting to ask yourself the biggest question of all, right? You got to start being thinking realistically, not a child's play toy anymore. We're not playing it like that, right? People want respect and they want honesty and trust on top. I said, learn before you can run, walk before you can run. Why? Right? There's a thing what Wild and the rest of and reading me between the lines and everything else. It's based on true facts and all logic. But then you got to put the two together to get the right answer, right? But you got to be realistic and say, look, I'm not taking on responsibility for the management that tells me to stop this person from being going on this platform. It's wrong, number one. Number two, you're making yourself a bad name for yourself on top of that. So realistically, you screwed yourselves over just by listening to someone else's problem or understanding. Right? You're gonna end up stuck. Right? You think it's not a joke? I tell you now, it's not. Right? When you look at it logically and you really think about it logically down the line, right? You're taking on somebody else's problem. Right? You are like stuck between the problem of the guilt, taking the guilt, and not understanding why should I take on somebody's problem, which it wasn't his fault, nor mine, nor anybody else's. It's a wrong. There's something in your head that knows it's wrong. You know it's wrong, and you know it's wrong because you know I'm innocent. I'm not always on a platform, and I took the full whack blame for everything. Right? You can't expect me to take the full whack blame because I wasn't always on a platform. So what happens? So then you got to work out of your own head, right? Why you're asking yourself that same question in your head? How come he's taking all the bloody blame when he hasn't done it? Ask yourself the question. Then the management tells you an order not to allow me on a platform. As example, that's deceit. Why? Now this is where the bloody guilty conscience comes into your head and say he hasn't done nothing physically or verbally wrong. How could he take that as a blame? There's something wrong there. In your head, get your head in the detective mode. You know there was a lie, you know it's a deceit, and you know it's wrong. What is wrong about this puzzle piece? I'm now telling you because I need you to guide yourself. I need you to work out why are the management telling you not to allow me on the platform when there is a lie in play. Think about it. I'm trying to clear my name, but it's a hard way round. Think about it. It's realistic, yes. You've got a problem in your head thinking, why is he getting the blame? Look, a lot of you protect one for the other, right? You've got to understand how can he get the full whack blame for that and then you didn't actually physically do it. Physically, verbally abusive, well, to a point, you got to realise if one thing doesn't happen right, you got the whole same problem in occurrence, right? You're taking on something that isn't your fault, nor is it your problem, nor is it mine. Why? Because it was set up all to begin with, right? What happens on the railway is different to what I do in my own home, right? That's a physical example. But then you got to realise if you realise that there's three suspects, but it's not me, my mother, or Duck, my mother, I will say, and Duck, if it's none of us, who's the three suspects? Ding, ding, ding. And then you got to work out why kick this guy out when he hasn't been verbally or physically abusive on a platform. Doesn't add up, does it? Because the letter came first. So then you have to work out in your mind how did he crack the puzzle to solve that little mystery and say, look, why? Because little pieces come in time, right? You have to be realistically, you're not guilty. You've just been pawned, if you will. You've been pulled into a problem that wasn't even your fault, or you weren't on a platform at the time, or acknowledging that he hasn't done nothing wrong. He hasn't moved about a lot around the platform. He hasn't done this. He hasn't done that. So who's it all aimed at? You're safeguarding someone that isn't supposed to be safeguarded, right? Right? You can safeguard a vulnerable person that's got disabilities, yes, but you can't safeguard this individual. Why? A lot of people take this as a guilt. Why? Can't take responsibility. Why? You're asking that simplified question. If that letter came to you, how do you prove your innocence if you know who the culprit is? If you're taking on a responsibility that the management told you to not allow me on a platform, what you're going to end up with? Big disaster. Why? A lot of you can't see it because you have weren't on a platform yourselves. You weren't there at the time. So who would be the three prime suspects? Davis Diesel, his wife, and Daisy. There's only three suspects. Get it in your head. Right? You're going to end up realizing why is this getting out of proportion? Right? All the porters, guards, and everybody else has to be realistic and realize I'm innocent. I know that. But how did it all unfold in the first place to make sure? Oh, see, right. A lot of people say, look, my mother is not stupid. However, she knows who the prime suspect is, and so do I. But if I really ever told the story of Daisy, we'll make it 18 plus, and it will come out clean. There's always a way around this, but I'm not going to be doing it. You see, all the community has to work around this and say he's not guilty. He hasn't done this. He hasn't done that. The whole employees, the volunteers should know this and realize taking the guilt for somebody else's problem. It wasn't my fault, and it wasn't my mother's fault, and it wasn't Duck's fault, and it wasn't anybody else's fault. Whose fault was it? If somebody told you that, like, if you were in my shoes and you got the abusive side of this individual, you will know who the suspect is, and you will report he for slash she, right? You can't blame me because I'm not always abusive one, right? Sometimes you have to look at the logic at that time. At that time, right? You 6 years now. You're in 2024, right? You're acting yourselves like you don't want to be on that way. Get off it. Feel like you want to get that guilt off your chest. You know you're carrying something that you shouldn't, right? All the trucks, all the people, or anybody on there should realize they're carrying something they shouldn't, right? One of these days, let me put this in perspective, right? A lot of people said, why was a lot of things going wrong here? You booted out a lot of people, including myself, including, they know who the suspect is, but they haven't got the confidence to say, look, we know who it is, but it's not who you think it is. You know, so there's three prime suspects, but I'm not one of them. Nor is my mother. Nor is Duck. We're innocent. So why? Ask yourself a question. You can't. You got to fix this problem to recorrect it. You're taking the guilt for somebody else's crime or problem, if you will. But you've got to be realistic. If it wasn't Stephen Topham Hatt the third, who was it? Work it out. Is it coming clear to you now why it's all been set up the way it was? I said there were three suspects, but it's not us. We know we were innocent because we're staying in our own homes, so we don't often get the full back blowout, if you would like to call it correctly. But somebody's worked it out, right? Myself, obviously. The cops will have to investigate it even further and deeper. Why then you're asking the question, what what screws you over? Right, you've got the management, you've got the cops and yourselves. Right, everybody that got booted out, right? The cops should realise that I wasn't always the one who sworn and cursed at everybody else. So you could take that off the radar, right? In the day, you're going to end up with this big little problem. We know in 2019 we knew who the suspect was, right? It's hard for a lot of people to say why. Why are you feeling guilty still and taking on the guilt? Two wrongs don't make a right. We understand that. But at the same time, by listening to me, you're understanding the truth. Why taking the guilt for somebody's crime, but not mine, or my mother, or Duck's? Why? Because we're innocent. You've got to work around this and realise he's right. If he wasn't on the platform, who's take? Why is he taking on the rap, taking on the full pull up? You need to work it out. Right, let me give you an example, right? Everybody should know a lot about what's unfolded and what's understanding and that. Look, it's a lot difficult when you confront this person and you know that I'm not physically verbally abusive, that's for starters. Right? But then you gotta work out, right, this individual who's in question, Daisy, is the one that you need to target because she's a suspect, right? So she's going to be pulling strings on everybody, the cops, myself, and you lot. She's done it very cleverly, but then she's got herself in this sticky situation where she's now messed up. So you got Daisy, Divas Diesel, and his wife, basically Joe Mudden. You're ending up with all those three suspects, and you're ending up with Hoo Harkett on top, who believed it all and not heard the other side of the story. So what happened? What happened in the end? They didn't ask for my side of the story to get it recorrected. I could never blame every Tom, Dick, and Harry on that platform as example and say, oh, he's been physically, verbally abusive, they will deny it on me because they know it's the truth that's coming out and saying that you didn't do it because you weren't always there. She was from time to time. Think about it. If I say Daisy is a suspect for one reason, it's the one thing that a lot of people have to realize. You have to realistically put it in foot and mouth and said, look, he's been honest, he's been truthful, he's been honest. Right? That's me being honest. But even the community knows this. The whole world knows this. Everybody knows this. Why? You've got to put the pieces together to work it out. Taking the guilt is the wrong thing to do. It's basically saying to you, I'm trying to guide you through this so you can get out of it. Don't listen to the management, right? You're listening to me because I'm giving that the truth, right? Just let it help you understand what's unfolding in front of your eyes and understand what's going around. I can't keep doing this every day for you, but I've got to keep up to date, right? The cops have to now bring in Daisy and say you've been now suspect because you're a prime suspect because you've done this and this individual has not done the full whack all the way through the station. He hasn't got that ability, nor has he has the ability to do it in Rayborn or Holt. He hasn't done nothing wrong physically or verbally for that matter. So then where does the target lie? Back at her, doesn't it? But then Diesel was doing all the paperwork, so you can't do all. It's like saying, if you want everything done correctly, you got to play your cards right. Right? You got to be realistic to yourself. You have to really understand that you are in the wrong by taking on somebody else's problem or guilt. You're taking on that guilt because you feel guilty because you listened to somebody that you shouldn't done. Right? Let me take it for like the management, for example. Prime number one. Why? Because you've been lied to. So now you spread all that lie around the stations, Sheringham, Rayborn, and Holt. Everybody's getting all that same problem. Why? Why? Let me put this in another way for you to make it easier for you. Why? You've been rumoured, you've been lied to, you've been deceived, and the person that's getting not the laughing matter about this is me. Why? Because I'm somewhere else safeguarded. Why? Because I'm giving you the truth around it so I can help you out to get out of this guilt. I'm not classifying you to take on that guilt. Why? Because it's not your fault. It's not your problem. And it's not even my problem. So it's we all in the same boat. Get it in your heads that this problem relies on one individual and it's not me or my mother or Duck because we already been through this story once. So work it out. If this played out once, right, you need to start believing in the problem is a lie at the moment. Because it's a lie that's told you. Right? The truth is coming out. You're getting the opposite to what a lie would normally wouldn't not give you. You have to take responsibility. Daisy is the one that started it all. Daisy's the one that's caused the problem. Divas Diesel had the paperwork. Think about it. I won't have your. I know your names and your addresses and everything else, but it's all classified. Why? Because I'm always available to help you out. But I'm always here for you. But I'm not a deceitful one. I'm not a liar. I'm not a really. You know what I mean? I'm not a diesel. I'm a steamy. Steamies are really useful. So work it out. A steamy can't be deceitful or a liar or dishonest. So work it out. What do you end up with? You're ending up with a problem now that you can't get out of because you booted out someone that you need. So what happens? When the management tells you this and that, that's a lie through their teeth because they try to keep that safeguard up through their department. My safeguard is more powerful than theirs. Why? Because I'm taking on everybody you booted out. So work it out. You've seen everything unfold the way it was. Oh yeah. Well, did it help you or me or anybody else, even my family, my friends, connections, and colleagues? No, it did not. So you're taking on a guilt that wasn't your fault. So basically, get it in your head every morning. We're not going to keep talking about this every day, but there's swings and roundabouts around this. Right? You're going to have to wake up and smell that damn coffee and realize, oh crap. Right? You're going to wake up the next morning and realize, I basically took on somebody's lie, deceit, rumors, and all that shit that's floating in your head is making you unwell. Right? This is for porters and guards in general as well. Stop believing that lie because in the day you're going to end up getting hurt. And the guilt will be on you and everybody else, and then the message will get passed on to everybody else, and they will end up with nothing because people will say, what happened here? This is not the type of person that just cough up blue. Well, you got to realise why. You got one big major problem, but you haven't. You only got a small problem, but you made it big and big and big because you lied through the stations. So the pattern is telling you, look, oh, this guy did this guy did that, this guy did this guy did that. Same scenario, same story. What happens? People will get sick and tired of it, and you will end up with all that problem stuck in the middle. Why? People have believed it, but they can't. Why? The truth will set you free, but then you've got to work out the mystery around it. This is a little piece of a puzzle you can't work out in your head. You understanding what's unfolding, I'll tell you. Why do you think there was only one suspect, but there's actually two? Peg or two, right? Because there's something to do with Duck's story. Get it in your head. It doesn't take a genius to work that out, you know? When I was your age and I was still on the platform, I was still doing the work I was set out to do. Right? People starting to work me out as much as everybody else working out everything is starting to unfold as true. But there is one flaw. There will be a day when you're gonna open your eyes and realise, oh shit. Yeah, you'll be saying that because that's the first word that comes out of your mouth. But then you got to realise, oh crud, he's told the truth, he's told this, he told that, and it's all true, and it's all logic, it's all respectful. I said it's been truthful for a very long time. The only problem is you believed what was fiction is actually reality, right? People are gonna get sick and tired realizing that it's all true, and then you're ending up with one big problem, right? Right, every day you've got this little charade in your head, and it's hurting you, and it's upsetting people. It's correcting problems, right? People will lose their jobs because of this problem, or that problem, or this problem, or that problem, vice versa, and it's going through your head, and you're ending up with this little charade. And I said, why? Right? People got to understand the boundaries of that strict limit and realize if he didn't do it, who did? The words to express it, then people will start to ask questions, right? People start to ask questions, and when it all comes out like a magnet, if you will, right? People are gonna start asking the right questions and get the right answers, right? People, they're not done nothing wrong, nor have you, nor has anybody else. Right? People are going to start wondering, questioning why. Right? There's a lot of people that go to arm's length to recorrect problems. Right? And so would my family, so would me, so would everybody else. Why? Let me recorrect something for you, right? You got that guilty conscience on your head, right? You can't solve it because you don't know what needs fixing or what needs understanding, right? People are going to start asking that little question. I said, yeah, well, it was right in front of you. Let me give you an example, right? Sodor Reading Between the Lines by Christopher Audrey, which is based on true facts. Now, a lot of you may think, oh God, here we go. Right? I got everything you need to know, but you need to wake up and smell that damn coffee. Right? There's a lot about what's going on in your heads that may need a little help here and there. Right? Then, right, here we go. The first thing, right? Duck and the diesel engine, 1958. Now, let me give you a little hit up, right? Dirty work. Diesel decides to try and get his own back on Duck, who is annoyed him by telling the untrue stories about Gordon, Henry, and James, and pretending that Duck is responsible. The Fire Controller, M&GN, is aware of this. Enough cable which throttle himself. So, in the end of the day, what happened in that? You see, this is the thing I'm trying to tell you. Dirty work is going in order the way it was told in the stories, so work it out. Right? So you got close shave, which has also happened, but it's all happening all in reverse. Right? I said close shave. Something like the story happened on the Revenge Glass and Eskdale Railway in 1960 through the occasion skillful judgment by a driver who is able two halves of the train to come back together with only a slight joint. And you can read this in Christopher Audrey's notes, and I tell you, some of his notes are accurate of what's unfolding in front of you. So when you realise that Diesel done his dirty work, just ask yourself the biggest question of all time, right? People are going to believe that over anything, right? But at the same time, you have to come clean on yourselves. We're not always going to be clearing up problems like that, but it's giving you a prime example, right? In the day, you're going to end up waking up and smelling that coffee. That's for sure, right? We're not blaming every one of you because we're telling you the truth. What is unfolded in front of you. So you're basically carrying a burden that's not your fault, right? We know it's not your fault. We know it's not this and that. But down the line, right, we realise what needs to be fixed. So by understanding, taking the guilt of somebody else's dirty work, for example, why it's not my fault because I never did anything like that. Never will, never would. Why? But taking on somebody else's guilt is more. It's not like saying it's your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. I'm telling the porters and the guards, stop listening to the management because you're not going to get a good advice. In the end of the day, you're going to end up crushing like a pile of cards and realise, oh, sugar. Yeah, well, Diesel did not just do it alone. he had somebody else with him, right? So realistically, you got three suspects, and only two of them were majorly involved. So it leads down to Daisy as well. So Devious Diesel and Daisy. So then every day, the other three suspects that everybody's targeting, right? Myself and and Duck and my mother, you're basically cut off the bloody problem. Think about it. It's realistic, and I'm giving you a fact on top. So realistically, there's a true fact in that, and now it's in human form. Think about it. You've got all these little problems scattered on the platform, and you can't get yourself out of it because you've been told not allow me on the platform. So what happens when you don't allow me on the platform? The problem doesn't get rectified. So then you're actually the ones who losing out because you can't solve that problem because you you're not paying attention, you're not understanding, you're not putting yourselves out there. You're ending up with this big problem, right? We know who the suspect is. Two suspects are, and we know that in the day that when it goes to the management think they know it all. I said they don't. They just don't. You basically got caught up in something that you need to be understanding of. And you got to realize I'm innocent. I will never be physically, verbally abusive on a platform, number one. Number two, I'm not laughing about it, regardless of my jokey and cocky attitude, as well as my stricken stern. You got to realize, oh, sugar. Of course, I'm not going to take all the crap. I'm seriously telling you, you need to stand up and realize you're not taking on that guilt because you're not part of the problem. Right? When somebody tells you not to allow me on the platform, they basically try and hide something you don't want to know. They don't want you to know about. I said sweeping it under the carpet is the only way they've done it. And the only way they've done it is because they got three suspects and they just all targeted for one problem. And then you got the cops on top of that being misled, and also that being the confusion. They also part of the package. And then you got to work out, well, how does he know that? How did he know that? How did he know that? Well, it's all in the package, isn't it? So work it out. I know every one of you that was on that platform, right? You need to start waking up and smelling the coffee here. You're not going to win and you're not going to lose because you haven't gained anything because people haven't gained respect. Right? Respect is the big key to all of it. And it's not the easiest thing to gain, right? But you need to take, by people taking on the guilt that wasn't their fault or their responsibility or their outcome of outgoing on this. I said it isn't your fault. The problem is, it's all Diesel's fault. It's all Daisy's fault, and then it ends up with the piggy in the middle, basically, layman terms. I said, in the day, you're losing something you need to gain back. It's respect. You need me, and you need everybody else. You need to apologise to all of us at the same time because it's not just a game anymore. With people that have been hurt, but knowing who the suspect is, including I started to know about it, I said, things go around, turns around. And in the day, you're going to lose or gain something that you need, right? You want something you want to gain back. I said, you need to stop listening to the rumors that you got from the management. The management are hiding something from you. They are being deceitful on you. They don't care about you. They don't want to know you. All they want to see is see you get hurt, upset, depressed, all of that in one bucket. All of these people that are on the platform now haven't got no respect at all. They understand what's unfolding. They know what's unfolding is naturally, and you got to work out if I'm telling you the facts, it's because I know everything you're about to unfold naturally. But then people are asking why why is there three suspects but not the steamy suspects? Steamy Steamies don't do anything wrong. Work it out. Diesel's word they are lying, deceitful, and dishonest. White the Steamies will always be honest with you. They always be kind hearted. They always be respectful. But there are a lot of people that don't know that from the truth from a lie. And that's what's thrown everybody off. So work it out. If I'm being honest with you and telling you that you're being dishonest by the management will always hide something, and they always do hide. Why? The North Norfolk Railway will never be honest with you right now. All they're doing is taking on a guilt that wasn't their fault. Basically, they are guilty because they're taking on a problem that wasn't theirs. It's not my problem because I wasn't always on the platform. And secondly, most importantly, that is all the management's fault because they're covering it all up. So work it out. It's all there in black and white. A lot of people think this is all a joke. It isn't. It's all real life. It's all realistic. It's all everything. But then people want answers. They want respect. But they can't because they're getting dishonest. For me, they're getting the honesty out of me. And they're getting the truth. They're getting logic. But at the same time, you're left with three suspects out there that need to go to prison for what they've done. So you're not talking about me or my mother or Duck. We're all innocent. We got all that as evidence. Right? You need to get your heads around this. This is no lies. There's no deceits. There's no dishonest. The thing is, it's all playing out the right way. But are you going to take the guilt for somebody else's action? I'm not. You not. And you're not going to end up saying no. We're not going to listen to the management anymore because we just think they just cocked up everything. When they die out, which they will do, all of this management business will be going out of the window because they lied to you. They've been deceitful. They've been dishonest, and they're passing the buck to stop me from going on that platform because even telling the porters and the guards the same message, and they ending up with the guilt. Why? Because they're taking on something that wasn't true. That wasn't actually physically true at all. So what happens with me and all the rest of it? Think about it. A person that hasn't done anything wrong ends up being the one who's been truthful to you. Now look at it. Taking on a guilt it isn't your fault. Just think about it. When I said about Diesel's devious work, dirty work, and all of that. That's the first part, but then you've got Daisy's part as well. I said Daisy has done this, this, and this, and this. It's true. Oh yeah, she put a crying act game on the police. Yeah, well, it's not going to help her this time because whatever she did on the platform was more dishonest. So she never came clean from the beginning. So who she do? She took it to get the blame on somebody else. So work it out. Someone who said that I was in the right place at the right time, and I said, she told me you either come in or you can F off. And what happened? I said, what did you say? Bang, bang, quoted from my own mouth. I said, in the day, basically, she'd chosen her target. So work it out. If I didn't say all of those things against to all my employees and volunteers, work it out. So there's somebody else that's guilty, not me. I'm just taking the blame for somebody else's problem. So work it out. When she cried wolf and all of that shit, you always go to her because in the day the steam team don't take the shit. We took the sidelines and stayed away from her. Why? Because we know we were innocent. So work it out go forward like you would normally do with a storyline. Just work it all out because it all ends up in a little bit of a magic trick that you won't be able to see because it's all unfolded in front of your eyes. You got all the information in your head. You just need to unfold it a little bit and realize, oh crud, this guy's innocent. right? That's why you have to look, because something is not right. So when you got the blame and you got all the hasslement, work it out. There's something about it that's saying you got to take this guilt. Why? I can't because I'm innocent. My mother is innocent. Duck is innocent. You can't blame three of us because we were in different places. So if we weren't on the platform at the time when she was doing all this shit, excuse my language. Oh yeah, she tried to target my mother and said, why does he? Oh, she was trying to aim at one of my private connections just to get rid of me. But there are a lot of problems out there on that platform you do not want to get mixed up in. And I said, in the day, taking the guilt right now will hurt you more when you come out of that platform. And it does. It scares the light out of you, and you can't be honest and say, look, no, you've got to be honest with yourselves to work out what is true from honest and being dishonest. There's a lot of truth in this. You got to work out why should this person take the blame when he hasn't done it. You lot all taking on somebody else's false information, bribery, whatever you want to name it. But the thing is, you're ending up with this problem because the major key to all of this problem to be solved in one swing is understand why did this individual get targeted? Why? And I just provided you with an extra clue there saying it's all to do with the diesel team. Work it out. Right? You got three suspects, but not the steamy team. That's right. I'm not part of the package. I stood up for myself, but no one took my side. They took the diesel side. Work it out. What did the diesel team can offer you that I can't? Work it out. It's simple as, isn't it? There's no wrong or right in this. It's just understanding of it all. The diesel team lied to you, been deceitful and being dishonest, and the management is playing the same game. That doesn't sound like a good management. They could kiss their asses and go bye bye. Why? Because they've been dishonest with you. So you're taking the guilt. The guilt goes on you. Why? Because you know it's wrong. You know it's wrong. You just have to be clear headed when you wake up in the morning and realize that you've got that problem. Bang. Why? The Norfolk Railway won't save you. That's for starters. You have to think out of the box now to get it right, corrected. Right? You know there's only one suspect, but you know it's not me because I wasn't always on the platform. So work it out. If all my former volunteers and employees know I did not do that, I'm not a. How can I put this in perspective for you? Right? Right? There's only one. I hate to be rude, but right, there's certain people that have that personality that will get away with that. Right? It's not just Divas Diesel doing all the dirty work. Right? Then you've got to work out in your head. Why? Well, it's all in the clues and it's all in the answers. Think about it. Think about it logically, like it was told to you as a story. Right? Use the story to your advantage on this. Get it in your heads. If this unfolded in real life in front of us, why didn't you stop the problem getting worse and worse and worse? Guilty conscience. Because you're taking on somebody else's problem that wasn't your fault. And you're ending up with this problem rise. And I said, I'm the victim, you're the victim, and then everybody else is the victim except the management. Why? Because the management lied to you. And I won't. I won't take the full responsibility of their problem. Why? Because when they mention Dole, you've been verbally, physically abusive against all the employees and volunteers, they will deny it because they know they didn't see my face. all of them didn't see my face. Why? Being too really useful and kind-hearted. That's the catch. When somebody is that, then that's that. Think about it. You got the solution. You can either leave the building and take that guilt away from your system because you do not want that in your head every morning or every night or every afternoon. You do not want it. There are a lot of people out there that will go to arms and length to stand up for people like myself who know I'm innocent. My mother knows I'm innocent, and so does Duck. Why? Because we've seen it happen before. We can't let it happen again. This time it's more personal. Why? Because somebody gone a little bit further than what he shouldn't have done. So you got a he and you got a she. So there's two pegs for the price of one. So work it out. You got Davis Diesel and Daisy. Work it out. Daisy did all the dirty work from on the platform, while Davis Diesel did all the paperwork from his office, from my own private office up there. Anyway, but that proves a point. Why? You should not take the problem or the guilt of somebody else's problem. It's not my fault. It's down to those two. Why? Because the piggy in the middle, who's stuck in the middle, was basically Daisy's best friend. Work it out. Even if they are best friends, they're not seeing the perfect light. Work it out. You got the truth, you got the logic, and you got the respect. Work it out. You got Davis Diesel and Daisy doing the actual problem itself. I was innocent. Duck was innocent. My mother was innocent. Why? And so all my private connections. And so was all my colleagues and connections and employees and volunteers on top. Why were they all innocent? They didn't see my face. Why? When the problem came to them, it had to be one of those two. You see? When you think about it down the line, don't take the person's guilt. But right, not even mine. I'm not even taking that guilt. Why? Because I'm safe on the outside, not on the inside. If I was on the inside of a building, I would not listen to the management. Why? Because they're liars. So when people lie to you and be deceitful to you and be dishonest with you, and then they say, "Oh, this person is this and this and this," I'm going to say, "No, it isn't. It's false information that was given to the cops, even yourself and everybody else on the platform at the time, and still now you're still taking on the guilt. Why? You feel it was my fault? No, it wasn't. Why? Taking the guilt of somebody else's problem, then it wasn't your fault. Not mine, not my mother's, not Duck's, not the steam team, or any of the part of my steam team. And then you've got yourselves. Who you gonna start blaming? The diesel team. Why? Because there were four of them, and only two of them did all the actions, did all the consequences, did everything they did. Why? So don't blame me, and don't blame my mother, and don't blame Duck. Because when we all three come together, then it's gonna be a little private time when you're gonna wake up and smell that coffee and realise, oh shit. Yeah, you're gonna be saying, oh shit, in your head, thinking, how can we solve a problem like that? We screwed up. He didn't do nothing wrong at all because it was nearly at it because you weren't there. Number one, then people got rumours, told lies, deceits, and all of that. What happens? The person that didn't do much or didn't was victimized of all of this. How can I blame all of my employees and volunteers and cause all of that problem? It doesn't add up, does it, when it goes in your head, does it? A person that got lied to, which is me, and then ending up causing my mother the duck. They knew what the problem was, and they said you're innocent. When you read the letter down to the reading between the lines and all of that, it wasn't just it wasn't just this the actual problem, was it? It was down to three people. Why? Because the management had false information given to them. Why? Oh yeah, well Sydney can believe a false information. That tells you that he's dishonest because he's gullible. He takes on what he sees when it was given to him on a silver platter. It's like saying, "Here's your food, eat it," basically, and that's why everything went boom, 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 boom. Then Divas Diesel just do all the paperwork, and he just makes Hugh Harkett or Sydney approved everything. So everybody that got kicked out, I witnessed it, bang, which is true. But end of the day, the cameras weren't on. No one saw it. If we didn't see it, it didn't happen. Bang. What happens? The whole problem is occurred by two individuals. And you can't blame the middle one because the middle one is just helping out in between. Then you've got Divas Diesel and Daisy. And then everything adds up. And when the calculations go up, then the thing comes together, piece by piece. And then you'll realize you're taking on a problem that wasn't your fault. Basically, you saw all those employees and volunteers got booted out for no apparent reason. And I didn't tell them they were fired, or I didn't tell them to piss off or F off or any other swear word that comes out of my mouth. No, they won't blame me because I was innocent. But I knew who did it. If she thinks she's now innocent, she isn't. Divas Diesel will get blamed for doing all the paperwork, but who ends up being the guilty party in the end? Daisy. Why? Because she's the one who did all the verbal and physical abuse. Thank you very much.